Hey everyone, welcome back to Hughes and Holman. I have the flowers that we started. I don't know if you had a chance to see my starting peppers video. I also started peppers and flowers and they look pretty good. Some of them germinated, some of them didn't, so we'll go through that. But I forgot to label these flowers. So if you did see the video, I was seeding these flowers with my son in my hand because he had woke up from his nap. So when I got in the house, my mind just went to doing the very next thing. As a mom, you know, you're doing like multiple things. And I never labeled them, and then I forgot which ones they were, so I don't know. Of course, I can tell the nasturtiums, marigolds are marigolds, but like I don't know what this is. It could be one of my breadseed poppies, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna plant these out. I'm gonna try to go by like the companion planting suggestions that are out there on like the internet. So you'll see, you know, where I'll plant them, and I'll go over them with you as well. And then before I go back in the house, I do want to just check the bottom leaves of my brassicas because those little white moths are out and I really want to save my brassicas. So we'll do that quick little check before we go and end my time today. All right, I'm finally getting my garden bed prepped. It took a bit of back and forth, but I settled on a spot for my indeterminate tomatoes. It feels like the right choice, and I'm hoping that they'll do well here. So right now I'm just clearing out the bed, just removing some leaves and pulling the weeds. Since this bed was added in last year, it's still in decent shape, which is nice. It makes this part a little bit easier since the weeds haven't really taken a hold and really set up camp here. And it's also just nice when you go into the garden, you're not like starting from scratch. So happy about that. I'm also adding in some of my homemade compost. So it's been breaking down, over time, and now it's ready to be used. There's something really rewarding about taking your scraps and turning them into something that can help grow new plants. I love the idea of just not wasting, so that feels good. Um, Getting the chickens last year also made a big difference in my compost, using their bedding and being able to give them treats from my own scraps is great. So, you know, we give them the treats from the house, and then we take their bedding and we just add it to the compost. And it adds a lot of richness, and I've noticed an improvement in the compost itself. So, I'll actually look to share with you all my composting system. Just if you're curious, I don't have a super large composting system. It's really just a three-tiered system that my space isn't quite big. It's not super small either, but it's not really big. So I feel like anybody with a decent sized yard can do this composting system. So I'll share that again in a different video. So if you're interested, just keep an eye out for that. Um, so I'm just gonna add the compost. I'm not gonna add any extra soil, and I'm hoping that's enough. I guess we'll see how it goes. Gardening is always a bit of a trial and error. So I guess it's just a bit of part of the process. So we'll see how the tomato plants turn out. And if all goes as well, I do plan on picking up my tomato plants last week. I didn't get a chance to start my tomato plants as I was hoping to, as I mentioned in the last video. Just, life sometimes just is lifing and you just can't get to it, especially with me with the two younger kids. Sometimes things don't always go as planned, but I have a backup, which is my local stores, gardening nursery center. So I'll go and pick up my tomato plants and I'll take you guys along when we plan out the tomatoes. So now I'm going to plant out my marigolds. I'm pretty excited about it. I chose to put the marigolds and the tomatoes together because just from what I saw online and from other gardeners on YouTube, marigolds make great companion plants for tomatoes. So I'm going to make sure I'm being intentional with planting them here. Before I actually plant them, I did go ahead, add some fertilizer to the bed just to give everything a boost. So hopefully between the compost, the marigolds, and the added nutrients, this bed should be pretty set up for the tomatoes once I get them to give them a nice strong start. So we will all find out together. If you're not familiar with companion planting, it's basically the idea of placing certain plants next to each other because they help each other to grow. Um, some may keep pests away, some may improve the soil, and others, I guess, are just good garden neighbors. I'm not too sure about the science behind it, but I guess it's like trying to pick your ideal roommate um, with your plants that you're pairing together. So marigolds, for example, um, online they're said to have, a strong scent that helps repel a bunch of different common pests like aphids and whiteflies and nematodes, which can be troublemakers in the soil and could damage the roots. So at the same time, though, the marigolds, they do attract the beneficial insects like the ladybugs and the parasitic wasps, which actually eat some of the bothersome pests for tomato plants. So it's like having like a built-in security system for your tomatoes by planting them with the marigolds, so they say. They're also known to help with the pollination by bringing in more pollinators, which can lead to better tomato yields. So um, it's really supposed to be an all-around good help for the tomato plants. Um, Not all my marigold seeds germinated because, of course, I wasn't that lucky, but in some of my cells, more than one sprouted. So overall, I ended up with more than enough to fill out the bed. So very happy about that. Okay, so I got all the marigolds planted out. Here for the tomatoes is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 marigolds here. And I'm probably gonna plant, I do have 1, 2, 3, 4 marigolds left. So I'm gonna plant those by my brassicas. So those are all the marigolds that are gonna go in those beds. And all right, so now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put my nasturtiums. And I think I'm gonna do them on the edges of the beds where the garlic is so that they can hang over. So that's probably where I'm gonna plant those. So like I mentioned, I'm planting out my nasturtiums next to my garlic. Not for any real companion planting reason, just because I think that they'll look nice here. The garlic is pretty simple looking, and the nasturtiums will add a nice pop of color once the flowers come in bloom. So I am hoping that will add a nice decorative element to the bed. I also heard that nasturtiums can act as a trap crop for brassicas, meaning that they might attract pests like aphids and cabbage worms away from the plants, like broccolis and cabbages. So I didn't plant them next to my brassicas, although the garlic beds are pretty close to where the brassicas are planted. So ideally, I think that would be the best spot for them. I'm not totally sure if that's how it works, but I figured I'll test it out. Gardening always involves a bit of, live and learn. So we'll see how that works. All right. So for the rest of these flowers here, I think I'm gonna plant them all at the bottom of that bed where the garlic is. Psych, no, I think I'm gonna plant some there where my blueberry plants are. So maybe I'll do half and most likely I'll do half and half. Okay, so actually I forgot that I have no flowers in this bed here. So I'm gonna do, oh, there's so many bees out here today. I'm gonna do some flowers here on the edges, because I do have a lot of brassicas here as well. So I'm not exactly sure. Oops, I just killed this one. Darn it. I'm not exactly sure what these are. They look maybe Snapdragons. I'm not sure, but they're gonna go on the edges. So, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I did not get a chance to label the plants. So the rest of these, I don't know what they are. It's going to be my mystery plants, so we'll kind of find out together. But first, I did decide to put them in my cabbage bed. I figured why not? Cabbage can be picky, but I'm hoping that these mystery plants will do their thing and blend well. And then next, I tucked a few into my garlic bed. Garlic is pretty low maintenance, so I thought it would be a good spot for these unknowns. Plus, they'll have plenty of space to grow without interfering too much. And finally, I planted a couple near my blueberry plants. Blueberries love a bit of company, so I'm hoping whatever these turns out will be, make good neighbors. Now, for what these plants actually are, your guess is as good as mine. They could be zinnias, which would be a nice pop of color, maybe feverfew, which attracts some nice beneficial insects, or perhaps snapdragons, which will give it some nice vertical interest. There's even a chance it could be the breadseed poppies, which would be a very unexpected treat because I've never successfully grown poppy seeds, so that would be nice if it turns out to be the breadseed poppies. Also, it's kind of fun not knowing what I planted and just seeing what kind of pops up. A little mystery going for the garden. Okay. All right, all planted with the bees bothering me and everything. I got everything planted, so very excited about that. All right, so while I'm out here, I figured I might as well thin out my radishes because they're growing very nicely in the carrot bed. So I'm gonna just come through and just snip off the tops to thin them out because some of them are pretty close together. All right, so you can see here, there's my radishes. Those are the bigger leaves, but I see a good amount of carrot seeds poking through here. So I am excited for that. There are a good amount of weeds too. So let me show you the difference here. So this here is a carrot seed. So that's the carrot seed. If you can try to get my camera to focus. You can see there, that's the carrot seed. And then we have some weed seeds that are also poking through. So let me show you where the weeds are coming through. So like this right here, that's a weed. That's not a carrot seed. So I'm just kind of letting the weeds and the carrot seeds kind of go together. I'm not gonna pull out any weeds yet, just because I don't want to accidentally pull out a carrot seed. I worked very hard over the past month or so getting those carrot seeds to germinate. So I'm gonna probably wait until like May or so, first, maybe second week of May. And then once they've come up to a better size and development, I can really distinctly tell which one's which. Then I'll go ahead and weed that bed. So I think we're gonna end over here. I got my little chickens. Checking to see if we got any eggs today. All right, we got 3 eggs today. Very excited about that. So thank you all for joining me as we planted out some of the flowers. I'll keep you updated on how they are doing. I will need to water them in. Probably gonna do that off camera. But I hope you're having a great day. Take care.